Welcome along. In this first outcome, we're getting to grips with what academic research really is, where good evidence comes from, and how to give a study a clear sense of direction. So, what do we actually mean by academic research? At heart, it's a careful, systematic investigation. You're setting out to answer a question or test an idea rather than just sharing an opinion. Think of a computing student measuring whether a new sorting algorithm really runs faster. They plan it, gather solid evidence, and leave it open for others to check. The key thing to hold on to is that research is only ever as trustworthy as the sources and methods sitting behind it. Let's talk about sources, and by that, I just mean anything you draw information from: a book, a journal article, a website, a dataset. The catch is that academic work has to rest on credible, trustworthy material, not rumor or some unchecked web page. If you prop up a brilliant argument with a weak source, the whole thing wobbles, and your marks go with it. Learning to tell the good from the dodgy is a skill we call critical evaluation. A few terms worth pinning down here. A credible source comes from an expert, accountable origin, and it's usually been reviewed or edited before it ever reached you. Peer review is that checking process, where other subject experts examine an article before a journal will publish it. An unreliable source is the opposite: biased, out of date, or written by someone whose name and qualifications you can't even find. Here's a handy checklist you can run on almost anything: the CRAAP test. It stands for currency. Is it recent enough? Relevance? Does it actually answer your question? Authority? Who wrote it? And are they qualified? Accuracy? Is it backed by evidence? And purpose? Is it there to inform you or to sell you something? For example, a slick health website might read beautifully, but if its real purpose is selling supplements, that P should give you pause. It helps to put the two side by side. A credible source tends to have a named expert author, some form of review, real data and references, and a serious publisher like a university or a government body. An unreliable one is often anonymous, unchecked, all opinion and no evidence, and published on a random blog or an ad-heavy site. Ask yourself, who wrote it, who checked it, and why? And the difference usually jumps out. Let's make that concrete. Say you need UK unemployment figures for an essay, and you turn up two options. Source A is the Office for National Statistics Labour Market Bulletin, dated, referenced, updated every month, from a government body. Source B is an anonymous blog post, no date, no author, no figures cited. Run the CRAAP test and A sails through on authority, accuracy, and currency, while B fails on all three. A confident tone on a blog just isn't the same as credibility, so you cite the ONS. Now, there are two broad ways to gather your data. Primary research means going out and collecting fresh information yourself, running a survey, interviewing people, doing an experiment. Secondary research means drawing on data other people have already gathered: textbooks, journals, official statistics, reports. Both are perfectly respectable. They just start from different places. Put simply, primary data is new and collected by you for your exact purpose, while secondary data already exists and was usually gathered by someone else for some other reason. Most projects end up using both: a bit of secondary reading to build the background, then some primary work to add something genuinely new. And neither is automatically better. The right choice comes down to your question, your time, and your resources. One thing worth noticing is that primary data means different things in different subjects. In the sciences, it's your own experiments and measurements. In history or the arts, it might be an original letter, a painting, or a first-hand account. In business, it's your own surveys, interviews, and observations. In computing, think of your own logs of how users interact with an app you've built. Secondary sources, meanwhile, are the textbooks, review articles, and published findings that others have produced. Picture a student looking into why shoppers switch supermarket loyalty. For the secondary side, they read ONS retail figures, some which reports, and a few academic articles on consumer loyalty. Then for the primary side, they run a short questionnaire with 60 local shoppers and interview 5 of them. The secondary reading sets the scene. The primary work adds fresh local evidence, and together they make a far stronger answer than either could alone. So, what do you gain and give up with primary research? On the plus side, it's tailored to your exact question, it's bang up to date, and you control exactly how it's collected. The downside is that it's slow and often costly to design and run. It needs real skill to avoid bias, and a small sample might not represent the wider population. Great for originality then, but demanding on your time. Secondary research flips that around. It's fast, usually cheap or free, and it gives you broad, large-scale data. Think of the sheer size of an ONS survey, plus a good sense of what's already known. The trouble is, it can be out of date for a fast-moving topic. It was collected for someone else's purpose, so may not fit yours neatly, and since everyone can reach it, it isn't original. A brilliant starting point, but rarely the whole story. If we boil the comparison down, primary research costs more, takes longer, but gives you high control, current data, and something new, usually on a small scale. Secondary is cheaper and quicker, with far less control, possibly dated, but it can cover enormous numbers. Seeing them lined up like that makes the trade-off pretty clear. So, how do you choose? The sensible move is to start with secondary research, so you learn what's already out there and don't waste effort repeating it. Then you reach for primary research when no existing data answers your specific question, or when you need something current and local. For a student project, time, budget, and skill often settle the balance, and the strongest work tends to combine the two. The thing to remember is that you're being asked to weigh both sides, not simply list features. Let's define 3 words you'll lean on when planning. Your aim is the overall purpose, what you want to find out, ideally in a single sentence. Your research question is the specific question the study sets out to answer, and it shapes everything that follows. And a hypothesis is a clear, testable statement predicting a relationship, something your research will then try to support or reject. Research tends to move in one direction, from a broad topic down to a focused, testable question. Wide reading is what helps you narrow things, turning a sprawling subject into something you can actually finish. The aim and research question sit right at the heart of that process, and a good question leads naturally into a hypothesis you can test against real data. Why bother nailing down a question and aim so early? Because they define your scope. You suddenly know what to include and what to leave well alone. They shrink a huge subject into something feasible. They let you build a testable hypothesis, and they keep the whole project on track. Without that clarity, research just drifts, and you end up collecting piles of data you never use. What does a good research question actually look like? It's focused, narrow enough to answer in the time you've got, It's clear, so a reader knows exactly what you're asking. It's researchable, meaning you can realistically gather the data, and it's relevant, worth knowing in your field. Compare "Why do businesses fail?", which is impossibly broad, with "What are the main reasons small cafes in Leeds close within 2 years?" That second one you can genuinely study. Let's watch a question take shape. A learner starts with social media and shopping, which is far too broad to touch. They narrow the aim to how Instagram influences clothing purchases by 18 to 25-year-olds. That becomes a research question. Does following fashion influencers increase impulse clothing buys in that age group? And from there, a hypothesis that those who follow fashion influencers make more impulse purchases than those who don't. Now it's focused, researchable, and testable with a simple survey. Let's gather up what we've covered. Academic research is systematic inquiry built on credible, carefully evaluated sources, and tools like the CRAAP test help you separate the trustworthy from the shaky. Primary research gives you fresh, first-hand data but costs time and money, while secondary research is fast and broad, yet can be dated. And a clear research question and aim are what keep the whole thing focused and lead you to a testable hypothesis. That brings us to the end of this outcome. We've seen how good research rests on well-chosen sources, how primary and secondary approaches complement each other, and how a sharp research question gives a study its focus. If you'd like to go further, the reading list points you to trusted method guides from authors like Saunders and Denscombe, along with the ONS website for real official statistics and methodology. Do dip into a couple of those and look at the census case study to see these ideas working at national scale. Take your time with them before you tackle the assignment.